Aloha world! Trisha O'Connor and Frida Reba Dorsey here, and what we've got going on here is I've got the sticks set up. We have tripod, and I'm hanging out here in front of my Bald Cypress composition with my little sidekick here, Frida. Give her a little per diem before we get started. What we're going to do here is something that we did about this time last year. Maybe I'll back up. This is 3 bald cypress trees, and they are in a very, very large training pot so that they can grow a lot of roots right now, so that they can grow a lot of taper and start to develop everything. So what we have going on right now is an attempt to maximize the amount of growth, while at the same time keeping an eye out for any potential problems that maximizing that growth could cause. I often talk about the branches that we need to watch out for. Like, if you don't know, if you're looking at something and it's overgrown and you're like, my God, I don't know where to start with this, like some oak or some of my other stuff. When you can't even see how to get started, always look for the stuff that's more than 2 branches. If you've got 3, one of them has to go. If you've got one pointed straight back, it should go. If you've got one pointed straight up or straight down, it should go. If you've got handlebar branches, they should go. If you have windmill branches, which is like 1, 2, 3 right there in the same spot, you should probably get rid of 1 or 2 of those, because all of those things create issues with inverse taper or knots or some huge bulge in the trunk or something that's not really considered to be that pleasing. Although at the time, some of that stuff does make for a really nice silhouette. You kind of got to think about it in the long term. Like I heard somebody say the other day, it's okay when you're watching your growth spurt come out that year and you want to maximize the growth and maximize the tree's energy to allow some bar branches and stuff, but don't lean on them. Which is to say, if you let them go for a little while, when you start to realize some of the good that you were hoping to get out of that much energy, then you're probably also starting to realize some of the problems that you may find that you'll have to address. So with that in mind, we have a lot of energy going through these 3 trees right now. They're budding out and looking really, really nice. And I had this compilation now for going on about 3 years, and when I started it, the first year at this time, they started budding out, and I did kind of like an arrangement. I went through and picked out which branches I thought looked best, even though it's not in a, it's very far from a refined state. I went through and picked out branches that I thought looked really, really pleasing, and I cut off all the rest, and I started prolifically watching videos pertaining to bald cypress, and I learned good and bad things. I mean, there are a lot of videos out there, and I learned that people would sometimes defoliate your cypress, and sometimes they would have, like, cypress tree people would get together and have defoliation parties. I think the 4th of July came up quite a bit as the time that you should consider defoliating your bald cypress. And I don't think that I don't think I ever fell into that. But it was about a year later when I was watching a video by Andrew Ryan, and it's one that I think you can find on YouTube because it was free. And he was talking about whenever he was doing his research on cypress, he fell in love with the American cypress, the bald cypress, and he especially liked the aesthetics of the flat top bald cypress design. But he asked a very important question: where are all the old ones? If people have been doing these for a long time, and they have, where are all the 30, 40-year-old trees? We do see a few, out there, but a lot of times we see tons and tons of videos where people will go through and defoliate their trees or carve their trees or do this or do that, and they're not necessarily practicing the rules of bonsai per se, and over time these trees disappear. Where do they go? So that started me thinking about, what will happen to my trees if I don't mind my P's and Q's. And about that time, I started having a problem when I was robbing energy on my Dawn Redwood, and I learned that all of that constant nipping at things the way you tend to do when you see just an abundant outgrowth causes problems and eventually can cause a loss of energy. Right here, I've got a bunch of branches coming out in one spot. Unless I want this just to become a big knot on there, should get rid of some of it. So what you see me doing is I'm doing just kind of what I said I would do earlier. Also, we were starting to do this last year. This is an example of a branch that we cut back last fall, and it is now bifurcated off into two. We're really happy with that. This is the other side of it. It's bifurcated off into two. We're really happy with that, and we don't have any reason that we can see to undo that. The branch below it is the same way, and it's doing really well. The branch behind it over here, same business. So as long as we have all of that stuff going, that's good. And if I have a couple of fronds that are exactly across from one another, I won't so much worry about that. But when they actually become branches, then and I have two branches in one spot, one of them has to go. Not two branches, and three in one spot. Or if I have a bifurcation off and that's going well, but then I've got another branch coming out of the crotch of one of them, then that second branch probably needs to go. In other words, we want to keep all of this new growth that is that's busting out, and all of this energy is all welcome. But then past that, any of it that will hurt us later on, we need to be thinking about. Now, right here, I've got a cluster of buds. You've already seen me cut one or two back from this area, but this is also an area where we did a lot of carving. This was last year's sprout. I had a leader out here that was about this tall, and we carved that back because this one was better located. So with a knot of wood coming out here, I've carved all of that back. And now what I really want is for that to roll over. But what I don't want is that to all of these, now all of this growth here is definitely going to be helpful towards that from, let's say January till now, when all of that stuff started coming out. But at some point, say from here on, I have to worry about that continuing the bulge that I've, for all intents and purposes, cut most off of last year. So now, having cut this all back, I don't want to make this a huge knot by allowing all of this growth to come out of one spot. What I would like to see is to see that roll over. And where all that new growth did kind of give us a start on that, there does come a point where I need to cut it back. In other words, you can look at stuff that might cause you a little problem and say, well, I am getting good energy and good transfer of nutrients and water and all that stuff through that, but at the same time, we still don't want to lean on it. Here's some examples of one of those coming out of the bottom. This is a branch that we cut back last year, and it is bifurcating off just the way we want it to. That's all good. That's all good. So this is we were doing this last year about this time, and this year what we did is we get to look at some of the secondary that we've done and go, yeah, good. and then maybe in a little while, when some of that secondary, if it starts looking a little too long, or we'll chop it back and see how, if it bifurcates off before before the growing season is over. But other than that, we don't even have to do that. If we just let that go all spring, all summer, and all fall, the rest of this stuff that isn't either in the wrong place or in a handlebar or in the windmill, if we just let everything else that's exchanging energy, whether we want to keep it or not, go, that will help the tree to exchange the most energy, and that will help the tree to get taper in the trunk and help us get the tree that we're really wanting to get out of this. And that's kind of the whole design to it. And where I was saying the first year that I had this tree, I kind of tried to cut it into a good bonsai shape the first year. And that is really satisfying to do, because even without the taper in it, when you have enough branches kind of hiding some of your cuts, you can really get a good feeling just looking at that overall shape. It's not hard to achieve, especially with these guys. And it's really pleasing to look at, but it's counterproductive. It's robbing energy from your tree that your tree needs to give back and make it be the tree you want it to make. And that, and I think the defoliation that people like to do constantly is probably the answer to the question, where are all the old fall cypress trees? Other than that, these guys are kind of easy to grow. I started feeding this one as soon as I started figuring out that I should have been using BioGold, and for the most part, I have been having really good luck with that. This is the branch that didn't survive the winter. We got one coming up right above it. We're going to cut back our old stub that didn't do anything there. As soon as I found out that I should have been using BioGold, I started using BioGold, and these trees were getting a lot of good water anyway. I don't really know if they need it, but it certainly did pick up the game on them quite a bit when I started feeding them. And other than that, they are pretty easy and pretty forgiving. And I would say don't do like some people like to do, and just and try to shape them into your bonsai tree before you get them into some, be mindful about the amount of energy you're taking away from your trees. You can see me here. I'll let quite a few of these branches all kind of come out of one spot, and so all of this stuff started sprouting out of this probably sometime in January or February, about February for sure. And I've kind of let it go this long, but now it's the next time I look at it, I'll be looking at whelps and knots and things that need to be properly cut off. So I'm taking that off and no more. That's kind of what we're doing here. The idea is to not rob the energy. Let all of this stuff help us make the tree that we're looking to make. And then come fall, we'll get to see all those really, really beautiful red colors again. And then past that, when it drops all of its foliage and all of this stuff is absolutely stagnant, then I can go through and make decisions as to what we're going to keep and what we're not going to keep. And with the tree basically in dormancy, then I can remove branches that weren't going to make the final design and take the branches that are going to make the final design. And if they're this year's branches, I'll cut them back for their secondary, and if they're last year's branches, I'll cut them back to their tertiary, and the tree won't notice any loss of energy. It will have harvested all of the energy from all of this growth by then, and we'll just be starting off kind of new and fresh. And that's how you do the give back in the summer, allowing your tree to make for it the stuff that it needs to make to do the work that it needs to do to be a pretty tree, while at the same time not depleting any of the energy that it worked so hard for. So yeah, that's us on our 3 bald cypress. I also have, let's pick some of this stuff out. I also, I guess this might be a good time. We were working on this little guy a few weeks ago. We repotted this guy a little while back, and now I'm just kind of starting to put a little push on some of these branches, trying to get them to lay down a little. You don't have to always wire them. You can just kind of give them a little push or a little crack and see if you can get them to do what you'd like them to do. This guy could use a little wire. This will be our new leader. But this is our little Mame bald cypress that we put in the little glaze pot. I thought I would give you a little look at it too. Thank you so much for watching. Tonight we'll probably do another video. We'll probably get back into some of our pine work. I'm looking forward to doing that. In the meantime, I did have some stuff going on that I wanted to catch up with on this. Not a lot, but it's kind of a continuation of the same video you saw me do last year, except last year those were all little half branches and we cut them back, and this year now they're little branches with forks on them, and we get to cut those back come fall. So it's nice to see this tree push forth with new growth every year and give us more to work with, and at the same time it looks better and better every year, but we still have a long way to go. And I've always said that with these 3 guys especially, you do not have to have a finished bonsai tree to really experience full bonsai joy. This is not an unglazed, Japanese pot. This is a mica training pot, and they're in a huge tub of akadama that is used so that we can grow a huge root mass, which will help us to try to develop that tree as well. So that's kind of all parts of it, and you can go back and look. I'm going to include this as well as all the other cypress tree videos that we've done since we started these guys, and Little Spoon, which is the name of the little Mame. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. We will be doing another video probably tonight, and it'll probably be a lockdown on tableside with some of our little pine trees. So yeah, I thank you, and Frida thanks you. Come on, let's go over here.